Hello everyone and welcome to yet another preview live stream. Today we are going to show you what's coming in tomorrow's Explorer's Choice update. Before talking I should ask you, can you even hear us? If everything's fine, please let us know now or during the stream. Say hi. It's a pleasure to see you again. Hi Ron, hi everyone, Brian, Shuruka, Tai Tai Mu. Yeah, everyone, thank you for coming, and let's do this. Let's start the stream. So Aaron, what are we going to talk about today? So first, Explorer's Choice update.
Yes. Hi everyone. This update, Explorer's Choice, you might have seen something from it in the experimental branch of the game, so you might already know what's coming. But we've taken your feedback to heart from the experimental branch, and we're introducing it to the main branch with this update. It's, as the name suggests, tied to glade events and choices you make when solving them. To sum it up quickly, for those of you who haven't played the experimental branch, I'll show it in a game in a minute, but there was one issue or multiple issues with the event system where most of them had just, you know, the two choices, send to Citadel or loot the event, and that was it. Some of them also had convert to a decoration. And we looked at it, we wanted to spice things up a bit, to change the tool economy in the game, to give you more choices. So we introduced the event decisions, event choices system. So now each event has unique choices, flavorful choices, different requirements for every choice you have, and different rewards. That's the sum of it.
Yeah, so if you have any questions during the stream, please type those questions in the chat and we'll try to answer as many of them as we can. We'll do our best to answer all even. And yeah, so we'll show you a bit more of Explorer's Choice update. But as Aaron mentioned, it was already on the experimental. We are playing the experimental version right now. So if you played on the experimental update, on the experimental branch, you probably are familiar with the majority of or all things that we are showing you today. But as Aaron also mentioned, there we also made some changes based on your suggestions, and we'll mention those as well. And then near the end of the stream, we'll also share some cool news about foxes and the upcoming update. So expect a detailed timeline when to expect the update. Okay, so what do we have here?
Yeah, I'm playing a very chill game, so you can have something to watch in the background while we talk, basically. And just not really important, just to show you some of the events and talk about them a bit more. Not gonna be a Prestige 20 run, it's just a Pioneer game. But yeah, as someone asked in the chat, is this is the experimental version coming to basically to the main branch? Yes. It's with some changes. We can talk about them right now. I'm gonna first show you some of the events, and we can get into more detail about it. But yeah, the thing we tested on the experimental branch with some changes, with some balance changes, and a lot of fixes to different bugs out there, will come to the main branch of the game. And some of the changes we can mention right now. So, for example, some of you pointed out that, for example, chests are a bit in a weird spot, where right now we gave you the option to open them without using tools, to simply break them open, or you can like use tools and send them back to the Citadel. But at the same time, the requirements for the chest were a bit funny. They were, so to speak, hard to get on lower difficulty levels, on lower meta progression levels, with resin and oil. In some biomes it was a bit more difficult, so we just decided to remove the resin and oil requirements and simply you use something like a stone or clay to open it right now. And other changes like include some smaller numerical changes to it, but before we get into that, I would expect anything game to be a winning game. Show you something. Okay, so here we are on a first dangerous glade. We have the escaped convicts, and you can see you have two choices here, which is persuade them and arrest them. And previously we only had like two choices in the rewards section. You could only there was one requirement here, one working effect most of the time, and the choice of reward. Now you can see this hasn't really changed that much, but this portion has changed. I can choose to persuade them, and that will give me 5 new villagers, some berries, barrels, and clay. And I can be a good servant to the queen and arrest them because they're escaped convicts, and get some reputation for that and get some amber. We're playing right now on the experimental branch. This isn't like the most up-to-date balance here. the things will change a bit in the final version. So as you can see, there are different requirements here. You can use something akin to a weapon, akin to a weapon, akin to a weapon, or you can simply withstand a working effect, persuade them to, which is yeah. These are the same effects. They're similar effects to what they were before the change, and the same goes for every other, almost every other glade event in the game. For example, here you have the medium abandoned cache. You can break it open, disregard the resin that's changed, or you can use tools instead of the citadel.
So Aaron, could you tell us a little bit more about the corruption, loyalty,
Yes.
and other effects?
The icons are also that would change, but so we wanted to experiment a bit with some of the choices. We wanted to give them more meaning, so to speak, but not really adding any new big system to it. So what we did was add some decision tags, basically. There are only 3 right now, which is empathy, corruption, and loyalty. And some decisions in the game will be marked as such. So for example, here, persuading them to join you is marked as empathy, because you're empathetic to them, and arresting them is marked as loyalty. This isn't really something that will change your gameplay drastically in the moment, but there are some perks and orders that will require you to use those tags. Basically, you can get an, for example, there were orders in the previous version where you could where you were asked to finish, for example, an event using the convert option, and that's no longer the case. There will be the same event, but it will change to a finish an event with an empathy decision, for example. And that's one thing where those tags will be useful. And the other thing we're also using here the tags for is perks, where, for example, there's a new Stormforged perk called the Seal Fragment, which increases your production, the city, for corruption choices. So if you find an old forbidden altar in the game and you want to get something out of it, a bit, something powerful, you can choose the corruption option, and then you can choose this perk from Isabella in the Forsaken Altar, and basically, make use of those corruption decisions to power your settlement even further. There are, as I said, the system isn't too big right now. We're probably going to expand it in the future, add some more decisions, add some more options to it. It's more of a proof of concept right now. See if this is something that's cool to play with. I'm gonna finish this.
Yeah, so we'll be grateful if you provide us with your thoughts and feedback after playing the update. And as always, we'll do our best to improve based on your feedback and suggestions. And yeah, so the update is going live tomorrow around 1 p.m. UTC and 3 p.m. UTC. We changed the hours because of the daylight saving. 2 days ago we switched to the summertime, which means the update is going to be 1 hour earlier than usual, probably, or something like that. Yeah, so tomorrow between 1 and 3 p.m. UTC we're going to release the update, and as always, short reminder to finish your current settlements, otherwise they will have to be forced finished. If you played Against the Storm for a while, you probably know the drill, but if it's your first update, then please be aware that unless you finish your current settlement, it will have to be forced finished tomorrow when the update goes live, and you will be reimbursed with Citadel resources equal to winning a game. So don't forget about it before the update goes live tomorrow. We got a question. Will taking decisions of a certain type make perks that relate to that more likely to show up?
Not right now, no. They're as random as most of the cornerstones in the game. So that's not something we control right now on the RNG side. But that might be a problem in the beginning when there are not too many of those perks. But we will see how this evolves with the balance in the future. And we might add something like this just to make the RNG a bit more reliable in that case. We use systems like that in some cases, in some perks, some buildings, in some orders, but sometimes we also just keep the things random to, because most of the time you are offered choices and not really forced, besides some cases like prestige daily. So that might not be a problem there, but I understand that in some games that might be fitting, so we'll have an eye on that.
Question from Ron. Do the orders related to keep goods, did that get rewarded or replaced for break open? So orders that had keep goods, are they rewarded to break open?
They are mostly rewarded to just they are mostly changed to orders such as just simply solve an event. For example, we had one, I think, order from a ghost that told you to rebuild ruins instead of salvaging them. So it was changed to simply solve ruins, whichever way you like. Some others were changed to, for example, solve events with corruption. So there isn't, we no longer like require you to just make one decision, like break open. It's most of the time it's decisions such as just solve the event or use a decision tag. I have to look at the project again to see if there are no orders that just say break open, because that might be still true, because that's a pretty common decision in the game, like because it's in every chest basically. But decisions such as persuade or arrest are pretty rare. I think there's only one arrest in the entire game, and that's this event. So in that case, that one decision shouldn't really be required by the game in an order, because it's very rare. So the tag is a bit less rare, so that's why we use it. Of the event here, more event checklist. Yeah, I see what you mean, Ron. Yeah, it's mechanically it will be similar, because solve with empathy basically like means, for example, welcome the new villagers. So previously when there was an order that said welcome new villagers, now it just says solve an event with empathy, and that mechanically that translates to a very similar situation in terms of RNG and in terms of decisions. But there's also some other cases where the full list of changes will come tomorrow, but again, you'll have to forgive us because we didn't list all of the events in the changelog. There's just like the basics there, the broad strokes of what we changed, because listing everything in a changelog with all the events, because almost all the events changed, was a bit too time consuming.
We are letting you find it out on your own.
Yeah, just discover by yourself, discover the glade events.
Yeah. So, Pigeon, I see your question about the foxes and specializations. We will talk a bit more about foxes in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But I noted down your question and we'll answer it as well. By the way, if you're watching Ron Empire, he recently shared. We shared with him some information about the needs of foxes. So if you've been watching, you might already know. If not, we will also share it later today.
Yeah, we have some nice, exciting news about. Stay tuned. It's gonna keep you waiting a bit longer.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we found another glade event, so I can show you. This is a rain spirit totem. And one thing you might also notice is that the thread timer is a bit longer than you might be used to. It's now 12 minutes here in this case. And it's like a lower difficulty, so it's even longer than that's because, you know, when we design those requirements here, they sometimes have a bit higher numbers. And for example, the number of goods in one slot here is a bit lower than it was previously, because, you know, you had to like account for you not having oil, so you could have coal but not this, and tools were here also. And now if there are two options, we basically made this choice here a bit more narrow, but you have still two choices, so in the end overall amount of choices is a bit bigger. But you know, to account for that and for you to like collect the required resources and to like maybe change your decision, we extended this time here. So because on high prestige games there was, you know, very little time to react to some events, so decided to extend. And here's also ruin. You can see it's almost the same, but now you make the decision here at the top. So previously it was you can just pay the normal amount of planks, bricks, fabric, but you like salvage something from the ruin, which didn't really make much sense because like I invested bricks and planks and I got back bricks and planks, which was weird. And now you just have like a small price to just disassemble the ruin and have a bigger price to rebuild it in case you don't put in your have the blueprint. And in case of this Rain Spirit Totem, you can see this is a corruption that earlier. So if you had a bird that interacted with corruption, use that to perform a ritual, get the converted rain. One thing also that maybe for some people interested in lore is pretty cool. When we did those, you know, choices, we tried to like keep with the flavor of the game, keep with the flavor of the events, expand the lore a bit more, and we also changed, for example, the descriptions for the items. For example, here you can see some more like cryptic text, the Rain Spirit Totem. And also the other totem.
By the way, we recently changed roller blinds in the office, and now that the sun is up for a longer time, it looks like we're in heaven. There's so much light behind us. We'll have to probably stream later with all the sun outside. Yeah. Okay, so besides the choices, the main highlight of the event, we are also adding 3 new decorations based on the models you've probably already seen in the game. Do we have them on the experimental branch already or not?
I think we do. I must have to check, or maybe we don't. But yeah, I can more do that with the console, but maybe at the end. But basically, yes, we had some models in the game. We wanted to give you the access to like as a decoration. So 3 new decorations for the game, which is cages, if you want to feel like dark with your settlement. A chest, like a more way to like similar to this, and I think. And some plants from the spotted orchard, because that was the only biome that didn't give you like spotted plants based on what you the deeds. So also deed rewards changed due to this, because yeah, we removed some boring rewards from deeds, from 3 deeds, so less XP from there, and we added the new decorations there. If you already completed the deeds, you will get the new decorations. Game update. Yes, finally found.
So from another changes, I have the full
let's go through
changelog open. So earlier today, I believe, there was a Reddit post about not being able to fulfill religion and education needs in very specific scenarios. So from now on, the temple is automatically unlocked after finishing the tutorial, instead of being unlocked at level 3. Because only at level 2, I believe, if you were at level 2 and you got the order to fulfill the need for religion, you weren't able to find the blueprint.
Yeah. So there were some fringe cases where you couldn't fulfill an order because you didn't have a building.
So yeah, what's our like general approach to blueprints and orders, like the correlation? Maybe this will also help when players are reporting bugs, because this thread was very interesting. Many people were not sure, like, is it supposed to work like that? Is it normal that sometimes you don't have blueprint unlocked and you get the order to do certain thing?
Yeah, so in general, the thing that we like, you always should have the thing and the meta progression unlocked before you get the order for it. So if the order asks for building a temple and you don't have the temple unlocked, like meta progression, you don't have high enough level, that shouldn't happen. The same goes for needs for rain punk engines, for example. If you don't have it unlocked in the Citadel, you shouldn't get an order that tells you to build engines or to use water in buildings. But on the other hand, there are some orders which we think are fine when you don't have the blueprint in your settlement, so to speak, but you have it unlocked in your meta progression. So in that case, it's 50-50. It's cool because it forces you to change your gameplay a bit, to maybe focus on this building, try to find it in Trader, try to pick it from blueprints. But sometimes there are situations where it's very hard to get this building or get this the objective finished. So I understand that that's frustrating. And even with all the orders that require to build a certain building, it's a bit weird, because if you have this building, that's a very trivial order. Like you can see, I built this Stonecutter's camp here even before I had something to like use it on, because I wanted to finish the orders. That's a bit trivial, and that's not really the best way of making orders. Probably will change that in the future. But some orders that like tell you, hey, build a tavern, and you don't have a tavern blueprint in your city, but you can get it through some different ways. I think that's okay to an extent. So yeah, so that's the main approach. We basically try to give you as many options as possible to get to that thing you want to complete, to do and for the order. But we don't want to just give you orders based on the stuff you have in your settlement, because that would be pretty boring. Because if you already have something and you only get the order if you have something, then it becomes trivial very quickly. But yeah, the thing that was pointed out today on Reddit was that person didn't have it in their meta progression, and that is an issue. That shouldn't happen. You always should have something for your meta progression unlocked before you get the order for.
Right. So, another question. How do you view the tool economy before this update, and what problems with it did you try to address with it? In High Prestige, it already felt tool production chains was not worth actively investing in.
Yeah.
So this is a longer conversation here in the chat. Probably, maybe this discussion belongs to Discord or Steam discussion, but maybe you already have some thoughts.
I think there were some problems with tools. First of all, they were like somebody pointed out that, and that's correct, I think, that they are a very focused resource on mostly exploration at this point before this update, and we tried to like put them in different places for you to use. For example, some upgrades in certain buildings, use tools. We tried to like make it more usable in other scenarios. But overall, we think that there was an issue with tools being the be-all and end-all of glade events, basically. It was a nice idea in the beginning, where there was a specialized, path you had to go through to finish events, but it very often went into a place where you just basically produce tools and you won the game, or you didn't even bother to produce. So because of that, we changed it so that some events now require tools. For example, still can use them on medium events, cash and so on. And to the Citadel, so you still get reputation from it, but not every event will use it. For example, the Rain Spirit Totem used them previously, now it can't be used. You have to find other resources. So that should solve a bit of the problem of tools being very focused resource, too focused, too narrowly focused resource. At the same time, we removed infused tools, or they were they were the better version of tools. And in the beginning, they were supposed to be a very high-end reward, a high-end resource you could buy from, or get from orders, or buy from a trader. But in the end, we decided that's not really working too well. They were rarely used, they were expensive, they were, the economy for most of the glade events was supposed to be balanced around them. So for example, ruins requirements for rebuilding and salvaging were based on tools, and two small tools, simple tools, were equal to one infused tool. Not really, it was more like 1 to 4 or more. So that was difficult to balance. So we removed the infused tools, and we focused on the small tools to give them a bit more use in some certain scenarios, and also in the future we probably add them to other things besides glade events. For now, as I said, they're used in a lot of glade events, but not as many as before, and they're useful, some upgrades and. Yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, because that's a really long discussion on the balance side of tools. We try to find a way to use them, to make them more appealing, to give them more meaning, but also not to overwhelm the entire game's economy around them, the economy side of glade events. Yeah, I hope that a bit.
Yeah, but this is an interesting discussion, as always, with many aspects of the game. So if you'd like to continue this topic, I think that either our Discord or Steam discussions would be the perfect place to discuss it with other players. Oops, it's not working. I tried to post link in the chat.
And I think the tools discussion is as Luke said, the best place for it is Discord, to discuss it on a more free-flowing basis. But there's also certain aspects of the tool economy to do with metal, because it's also not the most explored branch of the industry in the game, and it's sometimes hard to get metal. So that's one thing, but to give you a small hint here for foxes, before we go into foxes, sorry Luke, we will change some things with metal foxes. They will maybe open up the metal branch a bit more.
Yeah, so Ron's mentioning a metal update on the roadmap. This is quite problematic thing, because there's all the changes to metal are not a single thing. We've been introducing changes throughout the updates from the very beginning of Steam release, or even before the Steam release.
Yeah. The fact that this is on the roadmap is more to do. It's more like a continuous point on the roadmap, because there is no one moment we can tick it off and release a big metal update. That's not really our plan here. As I said, over the course of the last months, we slowly removed infused tools, we added metal to some recipes, we changed, we introduced the mine upgrades. So this is a slow and steady process of rebalancing the metal branch of the game. Now with foxes, it will change a bit more. So I think we will tick that item off the list once the balance after the foxes. And maybe we will still have some ideas how to attract it. But that's, I think for metal, that's the way it will go.
Yeah, and I need to clarify one thing, Sexy Hog. The fact that the game is in version 0.46 or 47 tomorrow, it doesn't mean we're in halfway. We're near the end actually. This is just every update moves the the number up, and so we were like 46. I think we released, I don't know, 35 updates or something. We started with 0.9, and the first public version was 0.9, and then with every update we moved it a bit higher, 1 point higher. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're halfway, we're near the end, we're slowly finishing all the things on the roadmap, even though it doesn't look like, it looks like there's a lot of things. A lot of those things will be finished with the Foxes update. But truth be told, we will probably take a little longer than we announced at the beginning. So not because our initial plan was 6 months after Steam release in early access, and I think we all want to add more, and there's still room for many improvements. So probably a few more months. Yeah, probably around the time when we release Fox's update, we'll also share more information about the nearest future.
We're doing pretty good on the roadmap. We're probably gonna finish it like pretty soon. All of the items left there are smaller things, like I said, continuous things like new glade events. Like over the last months we added a lot of new glade events. You know, one update added like 2, the next added 3, and so on. So we're pretty confident with the biggest changes. Foxes, of course, are the biggest change that's coming from the roadmap. But then, you know, we're done. We have to, like, we still have the power and ideas for new stuff, but you know, that's gonna be a difference.
So moving on, controversial change, nerf to harpies.
Finally.
Yeah, so the changed how far the resolve threshold for generating reputation moves for harpies after they generated a reputation point. Previously, every reputation point gained through resolve moved the threshold by 2 points. Now it's moved by 3 points.
Yeah, so what can I say? It's a small change, so to speak. It's not really like a big nerf to harpies. It's the fact that I don't have harpies in my city, thank God. But it's the fact that, you know, every race, every species has their like different attributes, and there is something like this reputation threshold here. You can see. So lizards will give me a reputation, will start generating reputation points after reaching these thresholds. If I get them to 15, they will start passively giving me reputation. Now harpies will have, like, for harpies it's like a similar, I think, threshold. Encyclopedias. But it's basically a change to how much the threshold changes after you gain a point. So if I would gain a point from lizards right now, the threshold would increase from 15 to a different number. For harpies it was by 2 for every point, so from 15 to 17, 19, so on. And now it will increase by 3, so for the first point it's like 15, for the second point it's 18 instead of 7.
Yep.
Yeah, because the reason for it, that I might add that, is that because on some higher prestige runs it was a bit too easy. If you finally got them happy, they generated reputation pretty fast, so we decided to someone said that harpies are the hardest species to... Yeah, they're the hardest species to keep like happy in the beginning, but after you like got through that first bump, they become really powerful. And I think we all thought that they're a bit too...
So another thing, I'm not sure if it's on the experimental already, I don't remember. When it comes to UI and UX improvements, we are adding small objective icons to some orders.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger changes. This update it's a small change, but I think its impact is a bit bigger than we might wait. It's not here because that's an older build, but basically there still is some issues with order objectives. For example, if you take like a look at this from a quick glance, you can't really tell what are you supposed to do with the grain here. Do you deliver it? Do you produce it? Is it about selling it? Because all the orders that have to do with the objectives that have to do with resource have the same icon. They have the resource icon. Which resource? We decided to add like a small flat icon here on the top right of the objective icon, where it will simply tell you, hey, that requirement is for delivering, so that's why it has a small chest here. Or that requirement is for selling it, so that's why it has like a small golden ingot here or something like that. So it should be easier for you to see at a glance that, oh, this objective doesn't require me to fulfill the need. For example, that was one big problem. You have two types of need objectives. One is fulfill X needs throughout the entire game, so 50 religion or something, and the other is fulfill, for example, 10 religion at the same time in your settlement, and so those two will have now two different icons, so it will be easier to determine which one is which. It's a small change, especially for players who don't really know too many orders, or find some new order that they haven't encountered before. Should make it their life a bit
Yeah. Thank you everyone for following us. So Fendariel, everyone is a critic, Yannick, GZ, Morlock, Just Feel Rain, Zing, Fun Jordan, Nox, Duka Yarim, Dead Penguin, Clown. Everyone, thank you so much for following us, and apologies if I misspelled your nicknames. Thanks for following, thanks for watching. Please remember, if you have any questions, type them in the chat. Today we are talking about the Explorer's Choice update, so we already went through the majority of changes. We are now only mentioning like the small remaining things from the UX aspects. We're not going to go into bug fixes. It's all going to be available tomorrow when the update goes live. So what do we have left on the list? What do we have left before we move on to foxes? We added a suffix to hostility modifiers on the world map and in training daily expeditions, explaining that hostility scales based on the difficulty level. That's because there were many questions about why does, for example, hostility grows by 100 when the modifier set is going to grow by 50, and this is because they scale with difficulty. Now there is a suffix in the tooltip explaining. Right, in the tooltip, right?
It's only in the tooltip of the effect on the world map, explaining that the effect will scale based on the difficulty.
Yeah, we added a tracker to progress of Petrified Necropolis modifier. What do we have here? Yeah, some other small changes. Everything will be...
there's also one new music track on the Coral Forest. We are steadily adding music to the game, like 1 or 2 tracks every update. We also changed some of the animations for scouts. So previously in the... we like to joke about it, in the game when scouts went out and solved an event, they were basically bowing down and doing something on the ground, which was like... What were they doing? Of, for example, a camp of people in the forest, or any other event. So we decided to change the animations a bit. So now, when the scout goes to a survivor camp, he talks to them. If your scout goes to like a converted rain spirit totem and tries to destroy it, he will like hit it with a pickaxe. So this should be a bit more immersive. The small changes to make the game more pleasing. And I can, this game is like, I don't want to win this. I can change. I can do the debug option. Meta at all. Show you example the
What you see here is a developer console. If you're playing on experimental update, you're probably aware that such tools exist.
Okay, I don't have the new decorations. Sorry about that. I wanted to show you the new decorations.
Why game looks like in 720p? Perhaps it's something with the quality, with the end quality of the stream, but I think we were streaming at 180. So please make sure that it's the video quality is set to 180p, 60 FPS. But maybe we didn't set it correctly in Streamlabs OBS. So, a question. Were you inspired by games like Path of Exile for your development cycle? Yes, Path of Exile was one of the examples. I remember we talked about it in terms of like timely delivery of updates and regular schedule for updates. I don't remember how often Path of Exile does their updates, but we like the fact that they are doing regular smaller updates, and then I think every quarter they push big content update. And so for us, the Foxes update is something like that, a big content update that is taking place in parallel to other updates. So while we were pushing all those smaller updates, let's say with Twitch integration, with Explorer's choices, smaller but not that small, in the meantime we are also working on the bigger content update with Foxes. So we are working on new buildings, a whole new species, new orders, and all the stuff that comes with it. And yeah, I remember that Path of Exile developers were like one of the examples of how to do it right. So yeah.
I think we're mostly inspired by other early access titles such as Slay the Spire. They had a very early access. They had a very strict update schedule of like every week, I think, with balance changes during the meta in different places. It was impressive to look at that and see how often they updated.
Yeah, perhaps there's something wrong with the game resolution, but I'm too afraid to change anything like right now, because if you've been watching our previous streams, you know that things happen, and I don't want to do any more commercial breaks for us fixing. But yeah, I'll keep it in mind for the next update. You're right that for the next live stream there's something wrong probably with the resolution. We'll look into this. What about frogs? Frogs, we love them.
Yeah.
We have a frog trader.
Yes, dork. Frogs are cool, but yeah, they didn't make it in the vote, sadly. So yeah, can't confirm any frogs. But
what you can be sure of is that all the species that we presented in community votes, they are like part of the Against the Storm lore. So even if they don't appear in the game, they are part of this universe and may take part in some, like, in other aspects of the game. So Zorg is a frog. Maybe there will be more portraits of frogs or bats or some NPCs. I don't know if there's place for any NPCs in the game. or more NPCs in the game, but if they will be, we will consider making them bats or frogs.
Yeah, the best place for us to add new characters from existing species is traders. They are very flavorful, they give a bit of lore. There are other characters in the game you have seen and theorized about. They're all part of the lore, but it's mostly design and restrictions based on like small team like ours that can't make it.
Thank you for the follow, Kalanon. Any chance of playable ravens, or do they work exclusively for the queen? So
That's not
foxes are the last confirmed species. So this means that there are no firm plans for more species. Foxes will be the 5th one, and there will be no more species added during early access. This is for sure. So if there will be more, it will happen after the full release. If there will be more, yeah, basically, no firm plans for more species at the moment. Yeah, okay, Aaron. So what do you think about talking more about foxes, maybe? Since we're already discussing
Yeah, we
them.
can talk about foxes.
Okay, so let me
The game
start.
plays itself.
Let me start with the timeline. So foxes will be added to the game in the next update. So in 2 weeks and a day. This is the big exciting news. Foxes are coming on April 13, I think. That's
Yes,
the day. Yeah,
April
April 13. This is the day when foxes will be added to the game. And before that, you will be able to play on the experimental branch. And keep your fingers crossed for us. If everything goes well, the experimental branch with foxes content, but with placeholder assets, will be at the beginning of next week or even this week. So yeah, keep your fingers crossed that everything goes well, and we'll try to release the experimental branch with foxes content as soon as possible. So what does it mean, placeholder assets? It means that we are still working on some visual aspects of the foxes. So we are not adding them to the experimental branch. Instead, you will be playing with the new species, with their needs, with their new buildings, but they will all be placeholders. So, for example, foxes will be replaced with human models, right? Something like that. Or some other models. Buildings will be replaced with other existing buildings. But we also plan to give early access to this visual content to some content creators. And so we'll be able to see a few days earlier how it looks in the game. And we will also try to share some more screenshots. Foxes with human faces, yes.
Yeah,
and
disguised foxes.
Tomorrow we'll show both models for both female and male villagers. We only shared the male one. Tomorrow we'll share more. But yeah, this is the exciting news. It's coming very, very soon. Experimental in only a couple of days, and foxes release on April 13th. So what can we tell you about foxes? Ron already shared some of the needs that the foxes have. Let me look at the list and I'll tell you what are those. So, like other species, they need any housing or specialized housing, so the foxes housing. When it comes to food, they eat skewers, pickled goods. They prefer skewers and pickled goods, and porridge. This is a brand new recipe, and foxes prefer it. And they also, the other three needs are bloodthirst, luxury, and treatment. Treatment was previously cleanliness. we are changing cleanliness to treatment, so this change will also affect harpies. This is mainly like a name change and flavor change.
Yeah, so this is there are also some changes to other species in this change. As Luke said, we are changing cleanliness to treatment because lore-wise, like cleanliness was pretty cool, but at the same time there were two, I think, issues with it. One of them was didn't really make too much sense in this world. It made some sense. It was flavorful. There were exciting memes about it, which I'm gonna miss. But at the same time, it made more sense for the foxes and for harpies to have treatment, because lore-wise, harpies are a species that lost the ability to fly because of the rain, and foxes are a species that is living in symbiosis with Blightrot, and both of them need something like help them on a daily basis, like exactly the treatment. They need basically healing or treatment. So that's why they both get this. This is going to be renamed to treatment, and harpies and fox have this name. One other thing I think some of you might be excited to hear, and that's not really like tied to foxes, but more to harpies. We talked about how they are fragile previously, and how it doesn't make sense that they like making clothes and don't wear them. So they will lose their need for brawling and get clothing in exchange for that. And foxes would get brawling. Other things with foxes I think that could be exciting. Let's get more into the porridge aspect, because that's a new good you can produce. That's a new type of food. We wanted to add a new simple food to the game, which would like jerky, for example. It's a simple food. It's complex, but it's still simple in the way that you use like wood and a food item. So for porridge you will use rainwater and a food item to create it, and that should boost the rainwater side of the game a bit more and make you like pick rain collectors earlier, not just to improve your workstations, but also to like produce some new goods. Somebody asked if brawling. Ron asks if brawling is bloodthirst. Yes, bloodthirst was the previous name of brawling. Then we changed it to brawling. As you see, there are some like flavor changes going on during early access. Yeah, previously it was bloodthirst, and then it was changed to brawling, and now it's still brawling. The main idea behind harpies getting bloodthirst and brawling in the beginning, when we tried to create harpies, was that they are like this magnificent, majestic species, but they have this ferocious side to them. And that was a cool idea, but it didn't really make too much sense. So we changed that.
Isn't the brawling overrepresented?
No, it's we changed the needs so that it's pretty even when it comes to the amount of so harpies lose brawling, foxes gain brawling, and only lizards have brawling right now also. So still gonna be two species with.
Yeah, so foxes are also getting new buildings. 5 new buildings, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And 3 of the existing buildings will get a new look inspired by Fox's architecture. Yeah,
so we will show a bit more from like on the architecture side in the future. But the new buildings, do we want to name all of them? Or I think we can name some of them.
We can name some of them and leave some of them as a surprise. It's still coming in only a few days.
Yeah, it's gonna be the distillery, the beanery, the tea house and the tea doctor and normally the fox house. You might be intrigued by the tea house and tea doctor. Very early on in the when you worked with on this world, we had this idea about tea having some pretty big meaning in this world. We never really found a place for it. I wanted to create something in the beginning, like a sickness system where you could heal it with tea and so on. Because magic rainwater plus some herbs. And we even had some concept art about some tea-inspired things. I think the only thing that's tea-inspired right now in the game is this garden with this tea robot. So that's one thing. So now we added the tea doctor, which is an institution, service building that will serve as a place where foxes and harpies can get treatment. And yeah, so for treatment you will use tea basically. It will be a recipe that uses water, some food/herb items, and metal. That's what I was alluding to in the previous when we talked about metal branches, is that foxes will have some more usages for metal. So it won't just be used on tools and so on, but some of their needs might be a bit more metal heavy metal. Stupid joke. So that might change the metal economy in the game a bit further even. Bathhouse will stay in the game. It will simply now be service building for treatment. It will still be called Bathhouse. It will still be Bathhouse. Just that the needs in it will change.
Will saves ever carry over from updates in early access, or will we have to wait for full release? So this is I have a very good answer for you. You will never lose meta progression, your meta progress. So the level you have, the experience you gained, this will never be erased. What we need to erase is your current settlement. We need to force finish it every update, so every 2 weeks. That's because we are adding new systems, new content that could easily break your current game and lead to some unexpected bugs. So we need to force finish your current settlement every 2 weeks. Sometimes, very rarely, we also need to reset the world map. I think it only happened once, the current cycle progress. I think it only happened once or twice.
Yeah, it only happened.
And we don't really expect it to happen many more times, because we would have to make big changes to the world map layer. So yeah, you shouldn't be really afraid of your saves being lost even when we transition to full release. So when we leave early access, you will still be able to play on your current save. Thanks for the kind words also. So does this mean there will be nothing added to the meta tree? No, this is not really related, because when we add new things to the meta tree, we will add more things to the meta tree. I think even the Fox update will add new upgrades.
Adds new things.
What I mean is that you will get those points that you invested back, so we can spend them on something else.
Yeah, I think we could also talk about this a bit more as we're revealing all of our cards here with foxes. There will be some new upgrades in the meta tree with this update. With the next update, I think Fox is not. And there will be one more level to gain. So from 17, the max will go up to 18. Of course, there will be the standard upgrade, which is the essential fox housing unlocked, as all the other species have their own houses unlocked in the meta tree. But we also add a new mechanic to the game, which is passive abilities for species. So every species will now have new passive abilities. So, besides their specialization and their firekeeper abilities, So it's gonna be interesting. I'm pretty interested with what you think about it. It's not like a big earth-shattering mechanic that will change like everything in the game, but it'll make the species a bit more unique and change your gameplay in the beginning when you start playing. So for example, when you pick, and this of course is all subject to change because we're releasing an experimental version, you will be able to give your feedback there. When you for example pick humans and you have their special ability unlocked in the meta tree, and they will reveal 2 spots with fertile soil on your map from the moment they join the first human joins your settlement. For example, you start a settlement with humans at the start, and you can see that here and here, for example, is fertile soil. So and every species will have something. For example, harpies will basically bring with them a giant crate of cloves, which is their special ability, and then others will reveal something.
Okay, I think that's all when it comes to revealing new things coming.
Yeah, there's still some other things, but yeah, just we're gonna wait for you to experience them yourself.
Let's leave some surprises for everyone. So I think we'll be finishing shortly. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. There was one. I remember. I don't forget about it. What other species eat porridge? Are there any species?
I don't remember.
Going to eat porridge.
Other species will eat porridge, but I don't remember. I mean, every species can eat porridge, because basically, if there's hunger in the city, if there's nothing else to eat, they will eat it, as any other good. But I don't remember which species has it as a need. I think one more species has porridge as a need. I would have to check that. So I don't know if you have it open on your.
No. Sorry, didn't prepare. So in the meantime, what part of Texas are you from? We're not from Texas. We're from Poland, Wrocław. Our publisher, Hooded Horse, is from Texas.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure where exactly they are from. I know that they have people all over the world. Yeah. And as we are being like super honest, it's also worth mentioning that there will be a price increase coming, probably rather soon after the Foxes update, and there will be also a sale before that, so we will have an opportunity to get Against the Storm with a discount before the prices go up. So this is a thing to remember, that due to the new content added, there will be a price increase coming in the future. So if you don't have Against the Storm yet, just look for discounts coming in the future.
Yeah.
And for more information, we will of course be informing you about it.
Yeah, moments before the increase comes, we will tell you about it. It will be in the patch notes. It will be announced that this is the last time you can buy Against the Storm with a heavy discount. I mean, with a low price with the discount, and after that, the price. Just to let you know that there will be a moment like that, and if you don't have the game right now, just wait for the next bigger discount. We'll tell you everything.
Yep. And there's currently you can also get a bundle with Timberborn. So there's a Beaver Builder bundle happening right now on Steam. So you can also get it in bundle with Timberborn. Okay. So are there any prerequisites? Oh no, I'm not gonna.
Prerequisites?
Yeah, for the new passives. We didn't talk about it yet, right? You mentioned that you need to unlock it in the upgrade tree, but other than that, they just work. It just works.
It just works. Yeah, there's simply they start off when you first get this new species in your settlement. So, for example, you start with humans and beavers, and foxes join you later. You find them in a glade. Then their ability will start at the moment you get them. And you of course have to unlock them in the Citadel, basically, to have them. Every species ability is a separate upgrade, so there are 5 more upgrades to get. But they're like, as with every update that introduces new meta upgrades, we switch the entire tree a bit around. So you might, for example, lose the ability to lose your extended farm range for a bit, because we push it up to level 18, and we slot in the fox ability somewhere in the middle on level 10 or something, 11. So yeah, just keep that in mind before game after update.
Yeah. So isn't it going to be kinda OP? So with all the other changes that are going to happen, with all other nerfs like the Harpies nerf, we believe it's going to be fair. But as with every other aspect of the game, we will be looking for your feedback, for your thoughts, for your suggestions. If you feel like it's too much, too OP, we'll probably do it. For now, we believe it's fair. We'll also like do more rounds of testing, and if we believe it's like too OP, like you mentioned, we'll probably change it.
There are also other changes coming that will probably balance it out. As Luke said, there's this small harpy nerf right now. We also plan on balancing some biomes a bit differently for this update. So, for example, you might get a lower chance, for example, on the coral forest to get some additional goods from trees, for example, just to balance out the difference.
Yes, this is a small Easter egg. This Dullahan is Easter egg for our publisher Hooded Horse.
Buy all the loot boxes from Dullahan. But yeah, to answer the question, we will introduce some other balance changes to this update. So it will balance itself out probably. But if not, there's the experimental branch. We'll get your feedback. We will implement some changes, balance it around, make it more, make it a bit more fairer.
Okay, Aaron, so we are going to end right now. So it's time for the last quick summary per suggestion. The update, the Explorer's Choice update, is coming tomorrow between 1 PM and 3 PM UTC, something like that. Please make sure to finish your current settlement, otherwise it will have to be first finished, but you will be reimbursed with Citadel resources you'd otherwise get for winning. The main features of the update, the main highlight is of course the new Explorer's Choice system, which allows you to, which basically changes how all events work. Now we have two choices to make with different requirements and different rewards. We're also adding smaller changes like the new decorations, the icons that indicate what type of requirement does the order have. Do you need to produce it? Do you need to deliver, produce, or have? So there will be an icon indicating what type of order, what type of requirement there is. And
that's basically the next update. I just killed the trader. And in the future, for foxes, as we mentioned, there will be an experimental branch coming early next week, end of this week. And of course, placeholder assets there. You play as humans. Foxes never happened. It's all humans. You can leave your feedback on Discord through the in-game feedback tool and so on. And after this experimental update, if everything goes right, the foxes will make it into the main branch on April the 13th. And I won't summarize all hints we got about foxes today.
There will be a VOD of the stream available on Twitch for the next 2 weeks. There was also a question if you keep an archive of all those streams. I have them recorded. and I plan to upload them sometime soon, but there's always something else happening, and it keeps preventing me from uploading them.
Work with foxes.
Yeah, but for the next 2 weeks you have the VOD of today's stream, and in the future hopefully we'll also share all the previous ones. Okay, so once again, thank you all for coming, for asking questions, for supporting us during early access. A lot of changes that you're going to see tomorrow are based on the feedback from the experimental branch. So if you haven't played on experimental branch, there will be an opportunity soon with the foxes before they go live. And yeah, once again, thank you all for following, thank you all for watching, asking questions, helping us. And now I think we'll raid Ron Empire, who's going to talk more about the game, play some rounds probably. Yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you very much.
See you in 2 weeks probably. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.